So I'm going to talk about Bombay, not Mumbai, Bombay. Yeah, historical Bombay, and how Bombay became the drug capital or the drug smuggling capital of the world for a long time. I mean, Bombay is a port, right? So it has been used to export and import commodities and drugs, or specifically opium was a commodity that was used to export to China. So, how did this all come about? And why do we don't even know much about it? And we often hear about Bombay and the ports used for cotton and other commodities. Cotton, right? But why would someone not talk about opium? If I was to tell you that opium created the biggest boom for the British East India Company, who I lovingly called the supply chain mafia. Uh, they figured out a way to enrich themselves and others who supported them in this endeavor, and in turn destroyed China. It would not be an understatement. So I'll give you a context in terms of how this all started and why Bombay became Bombay. How did Bombay become so rich? Right. So it all happens because of a Portuguese connection, a marriage between the Portuguese princess Catherine Braganza and the British prince or the English prince. We don't really need to know about the details, but that marriage, as we all know or have heard of, resulted in two things, not just one, two things for Bombay. One, Bombay was gifted as dowry or as a gift from the Portuguese to the English. Uh, but another very significant, it may be very small but very significant for us Indians, was that as part of her gifts that she took from Portugal to her new house or new palace or new castle in England was tea. Yes, Portuguese were far better navigators of the sea and traders even before the British. I mean, Portuguese and the Spanish created this whole naval, map of the world, which was leveraged by the Dutch, the French, and later on the British. The British came in much later, but they were smarter. So Catherine Braganza took two things which are of relevance to us, Mumbaiites or Bombayites. Bombay itself as the island that was gifted to the British, and tea. Uh, Tea that Portuguese got, that was gifted to the English, was only produced in China. So the Portuguese used to buy tea from China and take it to Portugal and consume it, and they loved it. And when it went to the British society, high society, royals, and the people below, it became even more popular. Yes, and that is the reason why the British East India Company was mandated to start procuring tea from China. Remember, tea is not native to India. Although tea is now so famous from India, Darjeeling tea, everywhere. I mean, Darjeeling, the whole of Assam basically, and the southern part of the country, especially the hill stations of Ooty. Tea plantations all over, coffee plantations in Karnataka, but that's not a native, plant to India. It was again a technology smuggled to India by the British and then grown in India. But that's not part of this discussion. So sticking back to Bombay. So Catherine brings in tea, and Bombay suffers because of that. One, it is used, it is created as a homogeneous island by the British through landfill, and then later on used as a hub for export of opium to China. The British initially traded tea with the Chinese in exchange of silver. So British gave silver to China, and China gave tea back to the British, i.e., the British East India Company. What the British East India Company realized that this trade is really bad because they're running out of silver, so they need to figure out a way to do something else, find a better solution than to trade silver. And then they figure out that Chinese loved opium, so it's better to trade opium with opium with tea. And funnily enough, around the same time, the British had won the Battle of Plassey, and they had got this huge parcel of land in Bengal and Bihar. So what did they do? They decide to produce opium, grow opium in India. India becomes the biggest hub of opium production in the world at the time. And all of that opium starts getting exported to China, initially as legitimate trade, until the Chinese tell enough is enough. At the height of the opium trade between China and the British East India Company, 25% of the Chinese population was addicted to opium. So you wonder why the Chinese would say enough is enough? Yeah. And what happens? The British say, F you. We are going to continue buying tea from you, and we only will trade opium because it suits us. It's the best trade we can do with you. So they fight two wars: Opium War 1, Opium War 2. The first Opium War was fought between the British and the Chinese. The second was fought between the British, Americans, French, Germans, Russians, Japanese, all of them put together against the Chinese. Yeah. Hong Kong was part of the deal of the first Opium War, which the British won. Now, okay, you will say, where is Mumbai? Where is Bombay? This whole thing was about Bombay. Why are you talking about China, Hong Kong, British opium? So, initially, the British decided to export opium from Kolkata or Calcutta, which created a lot of money in Calcutta, frankly, right? Calcutta became Calcutta because of the opium trade, among other things, but opium trade as well, big time. And if you can think of it, because of the trade, certain people become rich. Who are those people? Obviously, some people, local people would actually become rich. The Tagore family, please read. Yes, I'm talking about the Tagore family. Then you can pick up any famous Bengali family who have been rich for generations, for centuries. They would have had their hand in the opium trade with the British. It was later on figured out that we can actually have another port in Mumbai to export the same commodity. And again, I'm saying export, but you should really think of smuggling, because the Chinese did not like the opium trade. They said, no, we don't want it. So British figured out that instead of having their own people do this trade, they said, okay, can locals in India do this trade on our behalf? I.e., can you become our agents or become smugglers in the crudest sense? And there were many takers for that role. I said in Calcutta, there are a lot of Bengali families. In Mumbai, in Bombay, there were lots of families who are ready to do that trade on behalf of the British. Can you guess who they are? Yes, you can, I'm sure. People who are very famous in Mumbai, who built Bombay through philanthropy, through a lot of real estate development, all across Mumbai, all across Bombay. The industrialists of the Europe, the Parsis, the Sassoons, Jewish families, Sassoons and Kaduris, Jewish families, primary agents of the British, smugglers on behalf of the British, who traded opium, who smuggled opium. Remember that if you read books right now, they would sugarcoat this whole trade between the Chinese or smuggling activities as the China trade. Yes. History is written by winners. Losers don't write history. If you write history and you're a winner, what are you going to say? What are you going to write in your history books? I was smuggling opium. I made a ton of money, and I bought a lot of real estate using that money, and I'm pally with the British. Will they say that? No. But that remains a fact. You can search any British name, or any Parsi name. Take that surname, simply put opium next to that name and put it in Google. Search. I bet you. Take Sassoons, write opium next to it, put it in Google. Search. You'll find books written about this whole trade. I mean, there were wars fought over it. Remember that. If you go to Hong Kong, you will find a lot of Parsi named streets. Modi Road, hospitals. How would someone be there? Why would Parsi names be referred in Hong Kong? Think about it. Anyways, so Bombay became Bombay because of the opium smuggling trade between China and